so excited to meet you all. I hope that after I sort of share a little and we have talk, I can ask you all sorts of things about what you do as well. But just to pick up from what Jez sent over, I'm the Chief Content Development Officer at Hearst UK. And I actually joined from Hearst US in 2017. So just like moved the whole kit and caboodle fam over here. And in terms of where Hearst UK was back in 2017, we weren't really anywhere at all. And so we started dipping our toes back then. This is just to give you the sort of the history of how it's evolved over the past couple of years. And we were working with Amazon and Skimlinks. And then in 2018, we made it a real focus for all of our brands. We have 26 of them, but I'm focused on about 15 or 16. So the Cosmos and the Harper's Bazaars and the sites like that. And we really made it more of a focus for our editors and our brands. We were able to leverage functionality in our CMS, which had been created specifically for e-commerce. And we started testing the waters of bringing in an editor who was just focused on one vertical and on e-commerce specifically. So that was sort of after 2017, we moved into that zone. And then last year is really for us at Hearst where there was really sort of a turning point for us where we crafted a growth strategy and we invested in resource to make it happen. So, I don't think any of these things will be shocking to any of you, but, best practice, adding the right talent, growing output, plugging our affiliates. There's the 5-year-old. I love it. Thank you so much. Look, you guys, bracelet. Plugging our affiliates team directly into all of our brand editors and writers, syncing up calendars, maximizing like every possible shopping event we can, leveraging search opportunities, creating data reports that editors can actually use. I don't know if you guys struggled with similar things. Mm-hmm. And really focusing on our content distribution strategy. So that's sort of the history of where we've come. And then, I think this year has been really interesting, particularly with the uncertainty and the time of where we are right now, which is there's the kid. But there are just so many uncertainties out there, right? Partners are pulling their programs and, distribution centers are closing. So we are just being really nimble and leaning into what's working, pitching what isn't. And I think, one thing that I'm humbled by all the time is just how focused our writers and our editors are on our audience and on helping them get what they need right now. Some of which is, service stuff, and some of it's just, things to help them get on with their day in a really tough time. So that's sort of the overview. Any questions on that? Anything? No.
Did you say that you already had brands existing internationally, or that you came over to develop the brands internationally?
Oh, that's a great question. So we had a full suite of brands at Hearst UK, but they hadn't really undergone the sort of digital transformation that we had done in the US. So when I started, we had moved our teams to a separate floor and really focused on accelerating our digital growth. So we had sites, but we had very like skeletal teams, and we really had to sort of craft a digital strategy from scratch.
Totally. Cool. And if it makes you feel better, I have this guy on the floor. So
cute. It does make me feel better.
I might have to run any minute. So don't feel bad for 1 second. Eating a plastic cup. We got him a bunch of toys, and so now he's interested in a blue plastic cup. So hope that helps you.
Yeah, it does.
Good.
Let's see, some other questions that Jez, there was obviously, we made some mistakes. We learned some things. One of the lowest points I would say for us was, I mean, it was a while ago, but Black Friday 2017, I will tell one on myself in that, came in guns blazing. This is a huge thing in the US. And while it is a thing in the UK now, it really wasn't a thing then. And we spent a ton of our internal resources really leaning into it and trying to make it a thing. But sort of like in Mean Girls, like, you can't make fetch happen, or whatever the line is, like, it just didn't work. And so that was a real learning. And we sort of took the time, we watched as the market sort of changed, as our users got more and more comfortable with shopping through us. I mean, magazine journalism for time immemorial has been about suggesting things that our editors think are amazing and that our audience would love. But it took a while, at least in the UK, to really get them comfortable with it. And so, so Black Friday 2017, not a thing for us, but it has been really, really wonderful to watch the trajectory change over time, over the past few years.
Can I ask you a quick question? On Black Friday, do you focus mainly on organic search traffic for that?
Hold on 1 second, you guys. Okay, so anyway, can you say that again, Emily? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask, do you mainly focus on organic search traffic for Black Friday?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we do a few little strands. We have, I mean, search is a big one. We're looking at deals. We're looking at things that our editors think are really like true to the brand. We're looking at retailers, top retailers from our audience. It's a multi-pronged approach. And then we want to make sure that all the content we're creating is, it lives where all of, our people are, so that there's an actual like distribution strategy around where we put it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. What else? Let's see. What else? Oh, I think this is an interesting one. I'd be interested to hear how you guys feel about this. But I think another big lesson we learned was that traffic doesn't necessarily equal revenue. Is that something that you guys have seen? Anyone?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, completely. We've experimented. We're experimenting right now with expanding from the US to Espanol for CNN. And so that's kind of what we're seeing in other countries. So I was very interested when you started talking about international, because I'm thinking about an international strategy, but I've learned that from my previous roles at CNN, the markets are very different, and something that works in the US isn't going to just work in the UK and other areas. So have definitely seen that doesn't convert. I guess I'd be curious to know, like, how your US and international commerce strategies differ, if that's something you can share, and how you approach.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think the first thing I had to get used to, and now I'm really used to it, is right before I moved, I was so used to the scale of the States, of Hearst in the States, but also just the United States, that when I would look at UK numbers, I just couldn't believe how tiny it was. And then I moved here, I was like, oh, it's just much smaller. Okay, so now I'm used to our numbers, and when I see theirs, I'm like, holy crap. So that's one thing. But I also think that, for us, Amazon took a longer time just to be as sort of, I guess, universal as it was when I left in 2017, when I left New York. I think that the sheer scale of their audience has allowed them to lead into certain things that haven't really worked for us, like the sheer scale, and the kind of just, they are pervasive over Amazon. They are just everywhere. And, we have always, it's been harder for us to gain traction there. And so that's been really different. I think from an editorial perspective, our strategies are really similar. in leaning into search, in leveraging our editors, and and what they love, in making sure the timing of everything we cover is really on point. So all of those things I think are very similar, but the markets, that was a real learning for me. The markets are really different, and where we are and sort of where we have been in the e-commerce journey has been, we came a little bit later. I don't know if you guys have felt that way as well.
What do you think of Amazon's move to cancel the affiliate program in America?
Yeah, I mean, that came as a surprise. I heard that from my colleagues and immediately was like, is that happening for us? I mean,
well, I think it will happen eventually. I think America was the first place that they opened that up in.
Yeah.
And I think they will eventually. So I think if any brand is over reliant on Amazon in the UK, they need to start thinking about how they really change their strategy now, because it could dent a lot of businesses massively.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. Which is, in the one hand, I guess, in retrospect, of always comparing us against our sister brands in the U.S., perhaps it's an advantage. Who knows? Like, we're more diversified. But I think that they do a lot of very interesting partnerships that we can't do here, because just the retail landscape is so different.
Yeah,
there are Walmarts and there are Targets, whereas for us it just looks very different. Yeah, I mean, I think we do have to watch this space, right? Like, they've paused our certain incentives. Certainly we're seeing that not just with Amazon, but across partners across the board. But yeah, I mean, I do think that could happen. Are you guys reliant on Amazon in any large way, or?
No, I mean, I used to run the affiliate revenue line at the Telegraph, and we were quite reliant on Amazon. It was our biggest partner, but actually going to Marie Claire, we've just taken a really diversified approach. I mean, Net-a-Porter's closed its doors, but it's not really made too much of a dent on our revenue line this month. So yeah, I've diversified away from just Amazon. Plus, it doesn't really work for fashion and beauty in the same way it works for technical goods, or gardening goods and things like that. It's exactly like beauty. Beauty brands don't want you to feature them on Amazon.
Yeah,
because they don't know whether the product is genuine or not. Mm-hmm. So linking through to Amazon, I mean, there's certain things you can link through to, if it's like an electrical good or something like that. But any sort of beauty products, we would always link through to another main beauty supplier that is recognized by the actual brand as supplying the product.
And I think that's also what I was pointing to earlier about sort of the attitude of Amazon being a little bit different in the US versus the UK, and that it was just so much more pervasive, that there was less of a barrier of entry. But we've seen the same thing, and certainly on our luxury titles as well. Harper's and Elle. What else can I tell you guys? Or shall we discuss together?
Curious, has anyone seen an uptick in commerce revenue during these crazy times? We've pivoted our strategy, but curious, I mean, it feels like with display tanking and pre-roll, and advertisers pulling out, actually commerce is something that everyone could kind of lean into. And maybe an idea for some others is we've actually been taking over display inventory that's going unfilled to then drive to our commerce content. And so we've just, we're not writing like as much of the best speakers under $100 or more of those, but more service oriented content that's tasteful for this crazy time. But curious if others are seeing an uptick and not a down.
So
swing.
I've had my revenues, touch wood, have stayed pretty stable on the e-commerce line for the last. They took a bit of a dip, but we've managed to claw them back up again, from the last week of March. Up until to now, they've been fine. But what we have done is actually as well look at working with agencies. I don't know if you work with agencies like Affiliate Window already.
We don't know, but I'll take a note.
So Affiliate Window, I mean, if you want to do affiliate marketing, really using the likes of Skimlinks is only going to get you to a very, very basic level. If you can optimize your site so that you are adding links and creating direct partnerships with the likes of Affiliate Window, Rakuten.
We have those other direct relationships.
Yeah. So basically, you can do hybrid model deals on display advertising with them.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, so that's another idea to look at as well. But we've mainly focused on because I think the times like these, and I think especially this year, like the UK economy after this, I mean, hopefully it will bounce back pretty quickly. But if it doesn't, focusing on bottom of the funnel projects, so things like discounts, sales. Where we're seeing the most revenue come through is like ASOS launching their 50% sale, so a massive spike in sales, and that's kind of on the Marie Claire edit. So we're quite lucky having the e-commerce platform to be able to facilitate like e-com sales in that way as well in the voucher code platform.
Have you found at all fashion sort of take a dip? That's something that we've seen. I mean, homes and fitness and beauty are flying, but fashion has sort of really slowed down.
So on content, yes, the fashion side is, but we're writing different kinds of fashion content that's not really e-commerce related. Like the organic search traffic around like best camel coats or those kind of search, or best winter boots and spring season trends. The traffic has dipped a bit, but we've been focusing mainly on really targeted evergreen keywords on the Marie Claire edit to really target in people searching for a particular item of clothing, or people targeting to get a particular discount. So like ASOS discount code, Farfetch discount code. That's where we've been focusing on funneling our energies.
Got it. Very cool.
We're also seeing different trends across different categories as well. So jewelry and luxury kind of trending differently than kind of lower end of fashion and things like that. I'm a little different, I think, in this space, in the sense we actually don't do content. So I work at a firm. We actually are a pay over time provider. So you can come to our app and our properties and shop anywhere you want, and we'll give you a digital credit card in our app that allows you to split your payment into installments. And so what's been really interesting is, obviously in an economic environment like this and with uncertainty and constraint, what's really interesting to see is where our application volume, or where the interest in financing is shifting than where it was before. And so
where do you work?
A firm.
A firm? We should catch up, because we could potentially look to do a partnership together.
Wonderful. Yeah, we're actually exploring a lot of those right now. Obviously, very, very timely. Right now, we're kicking off a lot of kind of other ways that we can work with different publishers. But so we should definitely catch up after this. But it's been interesting just to see the different trends and actually different types of consumers that are looking to actually get access to financing during this time. So someone who may have never considered that because they had their Chase Sapphire card and were totally fine before, are actually now thinking about, well, should I invest in my home gym today? Should I get that beauty purchase because I'm at home and I need to do some self-care, all that kind of stuff. So we've been really watching the trends and seeing what's working well. Obviously, some categories are not doing as well as you can probably imagine. But it's been fascinating to see. And I think I'm just actually pulling up our own data as well. I think the things that we've been seeing spike are obviously sporting goods and fitness, consumer electronics, and beauty peaking the most, I'd say. Obviously, travel, even accessories, and some categories like, and in pockets of apparel that have taken the biggest hit over this time period from our
perspective. I mean, I've noticed, there is still people buying in fashion. I think they're just buying when it's discounted.
I agree with that too.
Travel was a huge vertical for us.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Not so more. I mean, hopefully, I guess it's anyone's guess as to like when things / if things ever on the travel front return to normal.
Yeah. Well, because it does make you wonder if on the upswing, will those, travel merchants need publishers more than ever to actually just win back their customers, steal share at that time. And so you do hope on the flip side that there's a resurgence that you can also tap into, but who's to say what's actually going to happen in this world a month out, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it's anyone's guess. I mean, one thing that we've had to cancel, like live events, for example, is something that we do a lot of, and we had to cancel Women's Health Live, which was it's a weekend workouts and talks and all about health and self-care and wellness, and we brought it back virtually for the weekend it was supposed to be, which was last weekend, with just 3-day programming of things. And what I can't help, it was great, it was wonderful, and it was so well received. But something that we're thinking a lot about in terms of, much like travel is events, like will people, after this gets better, will people want to be on a cruise ship with a ton of people? Will people want to go to a festival, with 8,000 people and sweaty workouts and stuff like that? So, but it's it's something that we're just going to have to wait and see.
That's true.
I do feel so bad for the travel industry right now.
I do too.
I'm curious, Amar, what's is it just like you're treated as an advertiser, but your publisher relationship? Is it like just you share a rev share commission? I'm sure it varies by who the partner is, but at a high level, can you just share what it looks like?
How our model works? Yeah, we actually exist as a publisher, just like I guess just like all of you. So so we serve as a publisher. What's kind of interesting about us is I think affiliate networks and a lot of other people in this world have kind of struggled to figure out what bucket to put us in, because yes, technically we are a financial services company, but when you look at our shopping experience in our app, it's much more about commerce and shopping than anything. So we actually don't, we're not an advertiser that promotes banks and credit cards, as some people may think. We're actually, because we have our own kind of financial instrument, what we actually promote is a better way to shop. And so we actually are a financial kind of publisher, but it sits in the retail world, in the commerce world. So we act like a publisher, just like any other.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But one thing we are kind of curious about and should pick your guys' brain about at some point is we've gotten or some interest in content as well as just such a different arm and different muscle to build, and something we have no experience in at all. But there's always that kind of interest of more than just a kind of cashback app or just like incentive app of some type. Can you actually provide more of a sustained kind of conversation, dialogue, and kind of deeper relationship with the customer through content? And so I don't think anything we'll get into in the near term, but I think would be fantastic for us to explore or find ways for us to partner with content publishers that actually can bring that full experience all together. Because I do think that there's just a ton of value in that kind of extended relationship that I think content brings to the table.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's why I was curious, because I know our audience, they're wealthier, they own a home, but they're smart and frugal, savvy shoppers. So like if they can, I think it's how, I think, they're just smart shoppers. So if you could get, 0% over 6 months, like, whatever it is, like, sure, if it's big expense, might not expense it and finance it. So yeah, maybe we should connect offline too. I think that's interesting.
Cool. Yeah. There's such a good, I think the shopper that's actually using content to make a commerce decision is obviously in research phase, as you mentioned, and that correlates very well with potentially bigger ticket purchases that actually require more research, because you don't want to go spend $1,000 very quickly. There's not an impulse buy there. You want to think about it, and maybe at that time you also want to maybe find a better way to pay for it. So lots of potential there. So excited to connect with all of you and kind of figure out if there's other ways that we can get creative here.
Anything else, guys? This has been awesome. I mean, like, such a the most pleasant half hour of my day so far. So good to meet you all, really.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
And I'd like to thank you all.
Yeah, look forward to connecting.
Yeah. I just actually have one last question for you. You mentioned this a little bit before, but about the differences between the UK market and the US. Have you kind of what have you heard from your counterparts in the US during this time period, and are there major differences in kind of the UK's reaction versus the UK's US reaction in terms of consumer reaction to COVID and this whole situation?
That's a great question, and to be honest, I've been so focused here that I haven't really paid attention to Hearst U.S. commerce, certainly to the news and the world of what's happening there, because that's been really interesting to see how how my parents and my family, even their attitude towards shopping, towards the virus itself, are so different. So I would say that they're seeing Hearst overarchingly is seeing very similar trends to what we're seeing, with the exception of, having had to cease all things Amazon, such that they can prioritize, what people really need over what they perhaps want. But, the same kind of self-care, wellness and health trends are working for them as well. Cool. As far as how negatively they've been affected by everything, that I can't say.
Can I ask a question as well? What percentage of revenue is versus ads do you have on affiliates or on e-commerce? What's your percentage split between advertising revenue and affiliate revenue?
Digital or overarching advertising revenue? I mean, I would say that compared to, we are obviously in a period of great change from an advertising perspective, but comparatively, the size of the e-commerce bucket is smaller. But I think it's just one way that we're diversifying. The ways that we earn revenue from our and from a content perspective, those are the ways. I'm always focused on how we can get more out of our relationship with our consumer, for sure. Cool. Thanks, you guys. I look forward to connecting offline at some point.
Absolutely. Thanks for leading the discussion.
Thank you so much to everyone.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care.